I'm just going to tell you, Grandpa's offered you his basement.
Okay, and do you know that Eric started the yard on fire?
I heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, I did hear about that, but could we, move on to the next subject? Because I don't really care if you and your brother burn alive or not. And, I don't care that you are gonna be living with a guy that's fucking out of his mind and sometimes dies upstairs and has to be brought back to life with Narcan. And I also don't care that he drinks on Suboxone and totals trucks.
Okay, so that's what Grandpa's offered you, honey. That's the offer on the table. And
right.
If that's not appeasable to you, I understand it's not. So you'll have to find your next avenue or your next door to knock on.
You could find another door to knock on, because I don't really give a fuck that my dad is also out of his mind and you were living with him for the last 3 years and then he just all of a sudden dropped in a fucking crazed criminal drug addict into your living situation. And you with chronic fatigue syndrome and your brother with autism should just be totally fine living with the guy who lights the yard on fire and fucking sometimes passes away and comes back to life upstairs and brings over the worst people you can imagine, and everyone's just gonna act like it's normal because we don't want to spend any money or admit to anything we've done, and I don't want to admit that my dad is sometimes a dumb fuck. So I'm just gonna tell you to go knock on another door. Knock, knock, who's there? It's the Dean kids. We don't want to give them money, so maybe someone else can. So homeless. We'll be homeless, that's okay.
Well, no, you just can get a job and get some income.
You can just get a job. We realized that you only had 12 hours notice until your living situation became a fucking mental hospital, but you could just get a job. We realized that you're on the run moving every 5 days, but I mean, that should just make finding a career easier. And it doesn't matter that you're dragging around your autistic brother and that you also are battling chronic fatigue syndrome. Chronic fatigue syndrome doesn't mean anything to you.
Hunter, oh no, I've watched you.
No, I don't. You can't watch. You can't watch and understand something. Maybe that's how you operate, but you don't have it. I do.
I understand. It's called empathy.
Well, yeah, but you've never given me any empathy for it. It's called empathy. I realize I've never shown you any of it at all. Not one fucking ounce for your fucking health disorder. But I have a lot of it. I promise. I'm just packed with empathy. Do you remember what you said to me when we walked out of the clinic? Do you remember your words? Because I do. You want me to tell you what you said? Or because you're not going to remember. You asked me if I was going to let it define me. You said, are you going to let this define you? And I was a 24-year-old that felt like shit. Imagine someone talking like that to your kids. They got hit with a disease after a hard life. And then somebody there is ready to say, are you going to let it define you?
So how is that such a put down?
I don't see anything wrong with telling a 24-year-old who got hit with a serious life-changing chronic invisible illness that they should just not let it define them. They should just power through it. And I don't see anything wrong with saying that. And I realized we were literally in the parking lot, in the car, outside of the fucking chronic fatigue syndrome clinic. But that was the time, that was the best time for me to tell you to just not let it define you and just not be soft. You could just be tougher and just beat this disease that has no cure. And even though you feel like dog shit and you felt like dog shit right when I said that, I don't see anything wrong with that. I was just trying to toughen you up and stuff. And that's how I show empathy, is through tough love. That's the Italian in me, is I'm just gonna make you feel like dog shit, even though you already feel like dog shit. And that's my form of empathy.
The answer to that is,
how do you,
here's how, just a second, let me speak. Brandon, come on. So here's a potential response. You could have said, wow, I see I've been dealt a pretty serious pile of shit, and I'm going to get through this. I'm going to figure out a way, a workaround.
I realize there's no cure for chronic fatigue syndrome, but like you could just find a workaround for it. I mean, I'm rich and I've never been poor for even 1 second in my life. And every problem that I've ever had, there's always been a workaround. And you know what that is? It's money. So anytime I have a problem, I just throw money at it and it goes away. Wanna see?
I'm going to.
There's no workaround for feeling like shit every day. There's no workaround. This isn't a business deal. I'm not in a contract with chronic fatigue syndrome. Chronic fatigue syndrome, myalgic encephalitis, is ripping through me every day. I've lost like 20, 30 pounds.
What are you going to do now? What are you going to do?
Dude, have you researched it? Have you researched it?
Tell me. I want to know what your future looks like.
So I've never Google searched chronic fatigue syndrome because I genuinely don't give a fuck about your health disorder because first of all, you're not my kid, so why the fuck would I care? And second of all, I've already decided that it's a fake disease, so I'd rather just lean into pretending you're lazy and you're not sick because that's easier for me to do and I can just roll forward with that. I also don't want to admit that my fucked up dad and brother and their weird codependent relationship is mentally affecting you and making you sicker. So that's why I skipped over the part where you talked about losing 20 to 30 pounds in 7 months. And I just don't want to have to address any of that because I know my fucking brother and dad are fucked up and I know they're codependent together and so does the whole town of Moses Lake. But it's just easier for me to ignore it. And then I can also just, by ignoring that, I can just ignore the effects it has on my nephew because I don't give a fuck about my nephew. And I mean, I realize I've never given you $1 in your whole fucking life, even though I'm a multimillionaire, but you don't deserve it because you haven't worked hard enough. It's just cheaper if I just pretend you're lazy and just tell you to go knock on other people's doors and like just tell you that I'm empathetic, even though I'm not empathetic because I'm not showing you any empathy.